as you can see here, we are in the what I call the honey hole food plot. We no more than got in the tree. Alyssa didn't even have her bolt closed on her gun, and I didn't even have the camera out of my backpack. And we had a doe with 4 bucks run out behind her. Fed through the food plot for about a half an hour, and we managed to stay stood up here and let them get out of here without blowing anything out here. So, been a couple good bucks in here. It's Friday after Thanksgiving, 26th, I believe is the date, in the afternoon. And I got Alyssa up here in the ladder stand, and I was actually in the middle hanging a lock on above it. That's part of the reason we kind of got caught off guard here. So the aide that I've been letting go with a bow has been coming in here a lot, and I think she will shoot that buck if he comes in. And then Loppy was in here last night, and he's been coming through here quite a bit. So we're kind of looking for one of those 2 deer or something else that pops up that's in that mid 130, 140 class deer for her. So we got about an hour and 15 minutes of hunting left here. We started up the hill about 2 o'clock, and by the time we got the stand hung, got her up here, got these deer out of the food plot, took about an hour and a half total. So probably a little late getting in for everything we had to do, but we're in. And I'm gonna get off here, and we're gonna see what the rest of the evening brings. We've had some good deer in this area, and it really has not been hunted much at all. So stick with us here this evening. We'll see what happens.
So I just wanted to go over a couple key points here on this food plot. To me, there's 5 things you really gotta pay attention to when you're gonna build a kill plot, and they are location, the size of it, what you're gonna put in for a food source, access in and out and stand placement. That's kind of 2, but we're gonna count that as 1. And then I like adding a water source to it as well. So going back to number 1, location. This particular kill plot is in the middle of a 40-acre area of woods with bedding to the north and to the east of this plot. Thick, heavy bedding area. And there's 3 ridge lines that kind of converge here. This was an old open area that was used to land logs before we bought this property in 2015. And I was able to get a guy to come in with a skid steer, clear it out, and create a food plot out of it. So number 2 I said was size. Keep these food plots small enough that you can shoot into them. You don't want to create one that, a buck can walk out 100 yards from you, stand there and feed for a half an hour and then walk out, and you never get an opportunity to harvest that animal. It kind of defeats the purpose of it. So this particular plot is about 40 yards deep and about 70 yards wide. So usually any deer coming into this food plot, I can get a shot at it because I'm kind of right in the middle of it on the south end of it. Which brings me to access. Access is probably the number 1 thing you got to look at in something like this. It does no good to do this food plot and then have to walk through the bedding area to get to it. So this particular area just sets up perfect. I can enter from the south, don't have to walk through much bedding area. I can get back out in the dark at night and really don't disrupt a whole lot. So again, with access, you got to keep in mind stand placement too. You don't want to put your tree stand on the opposite side of the food plot where you got to walk through it to get to it and walk back through it at night to get out of it. So, and then adding a water source to this is a huge factor too. It'll increase daylight activity by, I would say, 20 to 40% just from what I've seen this year. And you'll see this later in the video, I have a deer come up and drink right out of a 65-gallon water tank I buried in the ground this summer. So, and then the last one I want to touch on is the food source. Put something green in here that's going to draw deer in from September through December. There's blends that'll do this. This particular one, I'm using the River Bottom Outdoors Prime Time. Worked wonders this year. I would really highly recommend that. It's got a great bunch of guys with a ton of knowledge. So just wanted to point these things out. It's something everyone should try if you got the property to do it.
You gonna wish you shot that buck later?
What?
You gonna wish you shot him later?
I don't know. I wasn't really shaking or anything, so
Huh?
I'm just to the point where if I'm gonna shoot a buck, I may as well. I wasn't like getting shaky or anything. It just.
Okay, you gotta do what makes you happy.
And so again here, I just want to touch quickly on the effectiveness of this food plot, because this is a 40-acre piece of property that we own that adjoins another 220 that we have. But on all three sides of this, other than the south side, are neighboring properties. So even with 40 acres, with all the gun pressure that's going on, this is the Friday after Thanksgiving, and we still had 20 deer come out into this food plot in the daylight hours, 8 bucks and 12 does this particular evening. 7 days into gun season, I would say we're doing a pretty good job of hunting this and keeping the deer feeling very secure to come out here in daylight, 7 days into Wisconsin rifle season. I thought this was neat here because you can see this fawn go up and drink out of the poly tank I buried in the ground this summer. Last spring when COVID hit, we had a lot of time on our hands, so I decided to add a water source to every one of my kill plots. I could not believe the amount of daylight activity that these things created, especially one I actually dug a big hole in the ground with the bucket of my tractor, probably 20 feet wide and maybe 5 foot deep and 5 foot across, and then put a tarp down and then threw dirt in on top of it and let it kind of fill up with the rainwater. I did help fill it up a few times this summer when it was dry with a 400-gallon tank from my truck. And the amount of daylight activity with mature deer on those things in the rut was just crazy. I would say our daylight activity went up 50% or more this year on these kill plots.